It starts now. Good afternoon, one and all present here. Planetech Media House is an independent media house which offers a reliable source of news, information, and articles. We also offer genuine experience across an excellent portfolio of media by helping our audience understand the vast and diverse news. Today, we are here with another episode of Crafting Transformative Information, a webinar on soft skill development during lockdown. We do have a resourceable speakers out there. The first speaker would be Sinjini Sengupta, who is an author, storyteller, TEDx speaker, distinguished Toastmaster, columnist, and a keynote speaker. Welcome you on a Planetech Media House. A pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so very much. That was a very elaborate and a very kind introduction, and I'm really thankful and grateful to you for this opportunity. I hope that my voice will reach out to a few people, and this is actually the best time to do this. I mean, skill development in lockdown. I mean, frankly, quite kicked and thrilled about the topic. So, hi everyone. I mean, they very kindly introduced me, and you know that I'm an author and a TEDx speaker and social influencer and a few other things. But I want to give you a slight glimpse back into my life before that, before I take it on. So, uh, a few years back, before I took the plunge, I am an actuary by profession. I studied economics from Indian Statistical Institute and went on to become an actuary and had a long 12 years career. So I had a long 12 years career as an actuary. And so when I was working in this corporate setting, obviously, you know, I'm sure like many of you, I would go to my work and come back home and crash. And especially, you know, in the later years, I had a little child. At work, I had a very large team, long commute hours, 9-10 hours at work with US overlap. Truth be told, I did not quite have the time to pause and to gain any perspective on where exactly I'm going. It was a hustle. I took life as it is. I did not stop to smell the flowers at all. I just went on with the flow until I could not. So that's another story for another day. I had a full, you know, I kind of burned out and the stuff happened. But here is what I want to relate to you, that very often in the hustle of our everyday life, especially for us who are, you know, working at a full-time job, coming back home and there are roles to play, responsibilities, it's easy to lose perspective of the bigger picture of what we are here for, what we are doing, where we are going, if we are racing at all, for what, who are we racing against, you know, for what, I mean, why? And to even consider ourselves as a separate entity apart from our designation at work, or, you know, our immediate responsibilities in our homes and the weekly phone calls to our parents and all. So I'm assuming that it might be relatable to many of you. And then you would perhaps also agree that this sudden lockdown, it was a first for many of us. This is a historical moment in many good ways, in many painful ways, in many transformative ways. I mean, but there is no question of downplaying it. This is history getting made right in front of our eyes. So this is a pause button that we never quite see coming. We did not really allow ourselves as much as the luxury to stop and think and pause and reset in our normal life. So we were always working towards a, you know, rate of, you know, what are we going to get out of it? What's in there for me? What is my ROI? What's my, you know, return? What's my investment return? And I'm also conscious that this is particularly difficult for some people right now, because I am very humbled and very conscious of the fact that I speak from a position of privilege. The very fact that I'm sitting here right in front of a laptop talking to you people is a position of privilege. There are people out in the road, and, you know, not enough can be said about that. But at the same time, I also feel that this is a very opportune moment for all of us to see ourselves in a new light. As a person, as an individual, a parent, if any of you have children, to also look at our professional selves, not just as a job, but as as a career, or maybe even with a sense of purpose. So yeah, before I go on with my monologue, I want to quickly ask you, how many of you are developing any skill or learning anything new over this time period, over this lockdown? If you can, maybe a quick show of hands or something. And also, if you can just quickly tell me one word or two words, what new skills are you learning? What are you trying to develop? What is evolving for you now? And okay, by that I just don't mean professional skills. I mean, see, think about it. I mean, we always look out for skills that we can add to our CV or to our LinkedIn timeline and post certificates. But here is a number of things I learned, which I think this lockdown gave me an opportunity. For one, I learned to hold the broom in a certain way so that the I can broom my house better. I learned time management. I learned to talk over the screen. I mean, we are all used to human connections. We are social animals. And just to pretend I can see you while I'm only talking to the camera of my laptop, and that connection to be built while we cannot see each other or, shake hands or something, that is a skill that we are developing over each of these exercises, right? Digital marketing, basic video editing, lovely, awesome. We are learning to stay with our own selves, to live in our own skins, like no parlor visits, no fancy clothes. You are what you speak, not what you wear, what car you drive. We are learning that. We are learning to resolve arguments with the people we stay in the house. For many of us, it is the spouses. I mean, we are frankly not used to staying with them 24/7. Requires a lot of interpersonal skills. We are learning to operate Zoom, appear presentable in our bust size pictures. We are learning to make our own coffee rather than using the coffee vending machine. We are learning to cook. We are learning to eat our burnt dishes, right? Some of us are beginning to pursue some kind of creativity, learn to paint, write, sing, play the guitar, to try to remember what we loved as children and kind of giving ourselves permission. I think that is the biggest part of it. Not to learn, not to do, but to give ourselves the permission to do something for joy and not to add to, not just for ROI, not just for the CV. So yeah, all those professional, personal, interpersonal, household, spiritual, parenting skills, culinary skills, time management, learning to live without eating at restaurants, learning to live in our own company, learning to resolve conflict with people we stay at in home, learning to manage time, learning to manage project, learning to play multiple roles within the same frame of time. However, at a slightly different level, here is a few more things which we are also learning. These are more subtle, these are more implicit, and these are more humbling. Like, for one thing, for all these things that we have hoarded in each of our houses, we now take a look at them and we can now say which one are needs, which ones are wants. We know how to separate needs and wants. We know what is essential, what is not. We also know that we humans were a rather aspirational, ambitious, proud, egoistic race, but now we know that we do not have all the answers. We can only pray and hope and hold faith and look after ourselves, look after our communities, but we don't have all the answers. We know that the future is more uncertain, far more uncertain than what we thought it was. And we are left to face our fears. There is no running away from it anymore. So now I want to ask you one more question before I take the plunge. I ask you, and I borrow words from Mary Oliver, the very famous and very favorite poet. I borrow her words and I ask you, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? What is it you want to do with your one wild and precious life? I feel, especially now, reflecting on our current education system and our employment structure, that from our childhood, whenever we had a choice between my way and highway, we have often ended up choosing highway. So we have only done what the person next to us were doing, the Sharma ji ka beta syndrome, what made them successful and, live in 3-storied buildings and have 2 cars, get marks, crack admission tests, get a job, got promoted. So we were in that highway route where we only did something that people before us did and became successful. So we knew it's a safe path. And now suddenly the safety has been taken away. We just don't know what is safe anymore. It is an epiphany of sorts. We have suddenly woke up from a slumber that was our life so long. And now if we were to ask, how do we even choose what we want to become, and how do I choose what I want to learn to be able to become that person I want to become? Now, throughout my academic life, like, perhaps many of you, I too studied mostly for degrees and to be able to move on to the next stage, from school to college to institute. Like it happens in video games, right? You clear one stage and you move on to the other. And now I realize that there is a very different way of choosing what I want to learn. And that is perhaps what is relevant when we talk about what skills we want to learn in this time of lockdown. The time of lockdown is momentous. What we want to learn should come from deep inside in a more meaningful way. It should always start with that big question, which I asked you a moment back. What is it you want to do with your one wild and precious life? What is my reason? What is my purpose? What am I good at, like naturally? What are my natural strengths? What do I have to offer to the world? And what does the world need from me? And what am I good at? And what can I get paid for? And together, when these 4 questions come and overlap, it gives us a sense of purpose. In Japanese, there is a term called ikigai, which is actually nothing but the overlap of these 4 questions. What am I good at? What can I get paid for? What does the world need from me? And what I can do to the world. So yes, I think we must now remember to reflect on our lives, to reflect on the future and the uncertainty of it, to reflect on this ego that human had, which has suddenly been, kind of burst, that we really don't know all the answers, and how long we live, how well we live is really not so much in our control. And now is the time to reflect back on our lives, on our professional lives, personal lives, on our holistic, authentic selves, and to ask those essential questions. And once we know what we want to become from here, it is not to ask you to change your job, but it is to ask you to become a better, empowered person who can then do any job or any role at home, interpersonal, personal, authentic, spiritual, in a better, in a more meaningful, in a more effective way. And say, for example, I am already very good technically, but it might help me to be able to articulate my thoughts better. So this time gives me an opportunity to pick up on my communication skills. Maybe I'm very good at painting, and that was just a childhood hobby. And now I suddenly realize that, wow, I don't want to die before, I want to resume painting. I want to become a painter before I die. And you realize that you know while you want to take it to the next stage, you can maybe watch a few YouTube videos, take a few MOOCs, or look up something, look at more established painters around you and see how they are doing things, how what blogs they are writing, if they are finding an agent to sell their work, or they are holding an online exhibition. Say you wanted to play the guitar, and now you always left when the exam pressure came up, and now is the time you can, the internet, as they say, roti kapra makan internet. The internet opens our world to us. Even though we are locked down, our doors are locked, but the world is very small today with the access of internet, and we can use so much of the resources available to us from the whole world, and we can use them to evolve and become the person we always wanted to become. Say, what really matters is to know that what. Once you know what, the how will become easy. So yeah, The possibilities of one human life is truly endless. We as a generation, I think, our parents, from their own limited scope or their own exposure to life, I feel that they brought us up, many of us, in a rather limited perspective of life and meaning and success, because they saw the industrial age. So they could only prepare us to follow rules and follow instructions and, walk that highway instead of the my way. And until a couple of years back, I think, I heard many of my friends say that, our parents brought us up to work in a 9 to 5 job, like reporting to a boss, but I think the future would require entrepreneurs. And now during the lockdown, I have this reflection that yes, we need entrepreneurs, but even more than that, we need storytellers, we need change makers, we need thought leaders, we need people to come and relate to us emotionally and appeal to us, and change the world, because frankly the way we are operating is kind of not sustainable, and we need thought leadership. And this current time is such a test of character. If you meet your goals and meet your numbers, that's not enough. You have to be empathetic, you have to be culturally evolved, you have to be sensitive, you have to be aware, you have to feel the, like, there is this one line I came across in a book which I totally loved, which said that in today's time and age, with technological advances, machines can really do almost everything humans could do. Like they can do the sharpest and the most sophisticated surgeries even. And the only way left to be human is actually to be human. And so, yeah, I mean, I think now is the time the world is undergoing a huge transformation, and it is very important we don't miss this bus. And this bus will only take us inwards. This bus will ask us where we want to go as a child, and then it will take us towards that purpose, towards that goal. And skills are not really an end in itself. The skills are not really only to add lines to your CV or to your LinkedIn profile. Skills are the means to that end. That end is your purpose, that end is your ikigai. I started with telling you my story. So I worked as an actuary for many years, 12 long years. So 12 long years, and then I completely got burnt out and bedridden, and what then happened, what transpired is quite another story. But here I am in front of you. I have been exploring my ikigai for a few years now. I have been storytelling and change making and writing and influencing and speaking and trying to develop a sense of awareness and sensitivity, gender equality and compassion, and overall trying in my own way. And this lockdown also incidentally brought out another turn on the curve of my own life. I am founding my enterprise. I am naming it Lighthouse, because I believe that like a lighthouse, it should show us the guiding light. So Lighthouse will help to make people what they want to become, and it will help to build skills to be able to become storytellers and change makers and thought leaders. And it should be able to bring out exploration and curiosity in people, and to be able to articulate, to give you the tools, the toolbox. So how do I speak so that what I really mean in my heart reaches out to audience? How do I speak for better impact? How do I write for more reach? How do I develop my muscles of imagination and curiosity and exploration? And how do I put words into my thoughts? So Lighthouse is going to do that, and hopefully, my dream will also see the, show light and see light itself. So if you are going to be interested, if this appeals to you, and Lighthouse is in the making, it will take some time, a few weeks perhaps, but please feel free to look me up on Facebook and follow the page of Lighthouse, or follow me on LinkedIn. And I hope we will be able to do something together in terms of community building and building a better world. Because just as I said, the end is the purpose, and now the end is a new beginning. Now the end is actually the doorway to a new world. I mean, make no mistake, seriously, this is what is happening in the world right now. This is very big. this is like beyond what we can perceive or beyond what we can even hold in our two hands. The way we work, what we valued, what we called success, what we called achievement is all changing. The definitions are changing. Now is a time of test of character, test of leadership. It is a paradigm shift, and a new normal is dawning on us. And in that new normal, there will be a new world. And each of us, I wish for each one of us, for me, for you, for every one of us who's here, who's going to watch this, I wish that we become active catalysts of that new world. Because if we don't take charge, somebody else will take charge, and we would have to only follow. But we would not want to give that away to somebody else. We want to take charge this time. We don't want to miss the bus. So yeah, before I close my monologue and open this to questions and to hear back from you, I want to ask you one last time and one more time. Ask yourself, what is it you want to do with your one wild and precious life? Answer that, seek that purpose, and select the skills you want to develop, so that you reach that purpose with confidence, with stories, with changes, with transformations. Don't miss this bus. This is a new normal. Over to you.
That was really amazing to hear about the Ikigai rules, and you also mentioned about the toolbox. Human have this toolbox because they need to get upgraded by every time, and this is the best opportunity for us to upgrade this toolbox. I really got all those energetic words, and I really absorbed a lot of things from you. It was so good to hear you, ma'am. It was so good to hear you. I do have many
Thank you.
questions been waiting for you.
Thank you.
Yes, and
I'm
you
very
mentioned
excited about this new world. Yeah, I think that this is a huge time that's coming. I mean, we cannot even perceive it. It is on us how we make use of it.
that that
I'm
that's
very
really
excited.
that's true. And you mentioned about the bus which has been happening now, and we have to grab an opportunity and get the seat. What
Yeah.
soft skills have you developed at this time?
Okay, that's a lovely question to take. I have been studying positive psychology a lot, because the initial feeling when we got into lockdown and COVID-19 was one of grief. I mean, we were very uncertain about our own life. We were facing our fears. We were uncertain about the elders, the elders and the older people around in the community, in our own families. And I think, there was this perceived it was an overhaul. So yeah, I studied a lot of psychology. I have been very interested in psychology. My first book is also Elixir. It is also on psychology. So that I did. I have been giving a lot of classes, and once you teach, you learn even more. So I have been teaching a lot of young people, as well as more mature people, on storytelling, on public speaking, on creative writing. So a lot of keynotes and a lot of 3-4 sessions of how to use your voice, how to use your body, how to write a good script, how to influence people. So yes, all of that. And one more thing I have been studying very actively is I feel now we are moving from a masculine paradigm into a feminine paradigm. We are giving up measuring our success, and we are looking to be awed and wonder what's there in hold for us in the future. So this soft emotional skills, the emotional culture at corporate workplaces, because till now we were all working under fear psychosis, chasing numbers, and our boss would hunt us down if the numbers aren't met. Now I think even the leaders, even the youngest or the oldest people in the organization are waking up to the fact that we need to be well emotionally. So yeah, I have been reading and also speaking a lot on those areas.
That was really amazing about you got many good soft skills developed during this corona crisis time, and I think you already got the seat of the bus which you've been waiting for. And you also mentioned about Ikigai rule. Even I follow Ikigai rule, which is of 4 quadrants. What was your updation during that Ikigai rule?
Okay, let me be very honest with you here. Over the last few years, I have been working very actively in the area of what I'm good at. And I also realized over time that, the personal is political, and the world also needs that, because oftentimes whatever we think is going right or wrong with us, we think it's personal, but once you start speaking or writing, you realize everyone is feeling that way, they're all keeping it secret. So the world needs that. I had that to offer. What I am now trying to put in place is an offering. So I am I have been working very hard on Lighthouse. Lighthouse should be launching in about 1 to 2 weeks time. So I am trying to put in place a place of empathy, equality, engagement, so that I can offer to the world in a more concrete way. And there will be a mapping of what I have to offer and what they need and what I can learn, and engagement and collaboration. So yeah, I mean, one step towards Ikigai with Lighthouse.
That's really amazing to hear about those lighthouse updates and the Ikigai which you're trying to impact on this particular lighthouse. And I do have another question ready for you. How important is communication skills in one life?
Cannot tell you enough. My God, perhaps the biggest, perhaps the most. Communication is all that there is. I mean, I can think, I can be, I can be a Gandhiji in my mind, I can be a Hitler in my mind, but without saying the right words, I would not be able to motivate action. So, and communication is not just even saying, it is also silence. So even silence is very powerful communication. So before even human invented language, human invented communication. And they say that in the in the age of cavemen and cave women, they would gather around the fire every evening, and they would just utter grunts to be able to describe that I went to that jungle and there was this wild animal, so don't go there. So that is storytelling. Even if they were yet to discover language, they could only draw, stick figures of animals, but they would still communicate.
Yes,
A
yes.
baby, I mean, as soon as it is born, it is hungry, it starts to cry. That's communication for you. I mean, it is 2 years since it will learn to speak, but the communication has started. And yeah, I mean, communication is perhaps, I mean, I think it is one of the biggest part of being human.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, absolutely. I would really agree 100% with you. I would really agree the 100% with you. And by looking at your background, there are many books around, and I would like to know which is your best book, which is your favorite one, and you also stood as an author of a book. What is that book about?
Okay, my book is okay. Then let me just show you the copy of. So yeah, so this is my book, Elixir. So Elixir again has had its own story. It's very, it's kind of miraculous. It's very difficult to believe how Elixir happened. I wrote a story one day on my way back from office. Actually, I was sitting in the office cab waiting for my drop, and something came upon me. And on any other day, I would just let it pass as a random idea. I mean, I was tired after 10-11 hours of shift of office. I don't know what came upon me that day. I took out the office BlackBerry, typed out, punched in a quick story. And over the 1.5 hours that it took from my office to reach home at 11 in the night that day, I had finished writing 2000 words long story. So I left it. I forgot about it. I just posted it on my newfound blog and forgot about it. My husband, he has always been into theaters, so it's difficult to make theaters these days. So because all our friends are kind of relocating, changing cities, and all people are busy. So he wanted to make a short film, and he came upon this story on my blog, and he's like, we should make a film out of it. And that was around the time when I was in very bad health. I was bedridden, and I had put in my paper, and I was going to going to give up my job. And I was like, where will the money come from? So we crowdfunded 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees here and there. Friends gave some money. We broke a few fixed deposits. We made the movie, a short film. After that, what happened is miraculous. The film got selected to be screened at the Cannes Film Festival, like 69th Cannes Film Festival in France in 2016. So we were invited. We were invited to walk the red carpet. So the film screened there, won a number of international awards, etc. And we began to get invited to a number of screenings in India. And at one of the screenings, at the end of the screening, one of the audience somebody from the audience walked up to me, gave me his card and said that, I have a publishing house, I would like to sign you because I think this belongs to a book. I signed my first book contract before I wrote my first manuscript. I wrote the manuscript after I signed the contract. The book came out, became an instant bestseller. The book is about dreams and psychology, and it is about a woman just like me, who's into this kind of high performing loneliness, goes to work, comes back home, crashes, and doesn't know what's there to life until some transformation happens in her life, very much like my own. So yeah, Elixir happened, and this is the book. Thank you for asking me that. And after that, I have been writing my next book, which is going to be on women and workplaces, because I think that workplaces need to grow up to women. Gender awareness, gender policies are there, but cultural shift needs to happen a lot. And especially this current COVID time, the lockdown also exposes some of our emotions, that shows us how much the women leaders are doing so much better than the male leaders in so many countries. So yeah, I'm working on women and leadership, and I'm also working on public speaking and creative writing. Let's see together, they should shape into something good.
That was really amazing to hear about your own author book and the story, how it actually started to get into publication, and you won international awards by making a short movie. I'm really impressed, and I'm actually inspired by all these things. Even I want to get into the platform of all this public speaking. That's so good to have a conversation here. Thank you so much for being on Planet Tech Media House. It was a pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you.
Yes. Well, let's get back to the session on the Planetic Media House, creating transformating information. And the next speaker would be Soha J, who's a behavioral trainer, soft skills and happiness coach, and mental health advisor, who is also a counselor. We would like to welcome you here to the Planetic Media House, ma'am.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving this opportunity to me. And my greetings to all the viewers and audiences who are actually viewing us. It's so much a pleasure to be connected with all of them here. They are so much. I wish everybody a very, very bright and a beautiful Thursday. And then I would also like to continue saying, I would like to congratulate each and every individual here for being alive and kicking. I would like to also talk about, I would actually like to applaud everybody who's sitting right there fighting this pandemic, talking about for being, so much brave, being responsible, and being alert. I think every individual who's sitting here watching us deserves, and applaud, and for probably braving this pandemic, I should actually say, and fighting it out, and still moving and still living and still having that particular life and urge to do something in life. I mean, the people who are live here today, the people who have come here, it's very clearly understood that they have this urge of living a better life, and they have the urge of pushing themselves a little more forward than anybody else, I feel. So yes, thank you so much. So now if I have to talk about this entire thing, because I was just having a word and the discussion with Planodec, with so much of time in hand, what is that people have to do? What is that we are actually doing? With so much time in hand, everyone is trying to, adapt to new skills. And, there are so many varies of skills. Like we people, we are coaches, we are mentors, we are going out in the market, we are training people right from the colleges to the corporates, to individuals, counseling people on the mental health, and doing so much in, person. But then this lockdown had actually given us a very new way of looking at life. Instead of crying over what is really happening around, I feel that this has opened opportunities and new doors for all of us as individuals. We started living better in understanding the technology. I mean, we are probably taking up online trainings, we are coming up on webinars, we are having so many opportunities coming through our way. People are calling us and asking us to take up classes online. So it's amazing, and I feel like all these new skills and the CVs are grown as a person now. Number one reason why people are probably failing on their work or dreams was always the lack of time. But I think now we have a lot of time in hand where we can learn, we can upskill ourselves, we can completely be a new version, and we probably blame colleges, we blame the classes not to follow rightly, and the passions and the dreams what we talk about have been disappeared somewhere. But then I think this pandemic has brought it back. Everybody is trying to streamline, everybody is trying to learn something new, everybody is trying to put in so many efforts, and I feel that these efforts are going to make a lot of count here. We have so many things that we keep blaming upon, right from the traffic to the government to their spouses and whatnot. And when we get into this blame game, we try to get out of the situation guilt free. Whenever we are blaming somebody, whenever we are talking about all these situations which we actually had before the close down, before the pandemic, before corona, we always had cried over our lives, even after getting so much in life, so much. Instead of being grateful, we've always been complaining about it. But then right now, it is like a time where we realized what we got in hand, not just to improve, one's life, but to also improve oneself. I feel that as and when we try to get guilt free from any kind of a situation, the only thing we probably do is not achieve our goals. We do not accomplish our dreams, we do not focus on our dreams, and we miss it out so much. But before we delve into such details of what to learn during this particular lockdown, let's first take a look at what is really going to happen and what is going on in our minds, and how do we actually go about it. What are our aims, and how should we go about our aim, and how should we progress in our aim? What is the goal all about, and how do we focus on our goals? How do we rejuvenate ourselves? How do we build our relationships? Though we are far away now, we are bothered about our relatives more, we are bothered about our connections more. We are calling them, we are trying to connect with them, trying to understand them, trying to support them, all these while we were not supporting one, though we were always in words, in talking to people and telling that we are there to support you, that we are there for a cause. But the push wasn't given that heavy. But I think now in this pandemic, we are pushing each other to grow, helping each other as mankind. We are trying to help living beings around us. So I feel, yeah, it's a moment of being proud rather than and of course upskilling has been a very very big concern for everybody. And I think now this is the right time where we are going to upskill ourselves, and we are actually upskilling ourselves. There's never a bad time to learn anything at all, and neither there is any time for that matter for any age barrier to learn anything. I think your life is all about learning. You keep learning in every mode of your life, every move of your life, every time, uh, you know, God tries to, send you a signal. He's trying to actually tell you something to life, and he's trying to teach you life. He's trying to tell you how you can actually learn your entire life. I think that's an experience by itself. And if you have to talk about, with so much time in our hand and fewer distractions, it was never this easier. But look at the bright side of coronavirus. I should actually tell you, look at the bright side of it. What are we looking at? I mean, when I'm talking about the bright side, is that you can do anything that you want, except that you cannot go out. Anything you want. There are online courses. There is so much of learning around. There is so much of interacting with one another. All your neighbors coming around. There's so much of learning. Every individual has given their inputs now, and we are growing with their inputs. We are growing with helping each other and supporting each other at this point in time. So the whole India is, India INC is right now on a lockdown, and everybody is trying to work from home. So pan-India cases have increased, and there is no way that, we can venture out or, try experimenting, going out and meeting around with people and all. So of course, I think at this point in time, the only learning I would actually talk about is how do you go about and how should you learn. So you need to divide your learnings into 3 different portions. The first learning would be, mindfulness. I very strongly recommend everybody, because, I mean, as a mental health advisor, right now I'm receiving a lot of cases where people are completely disturbed staying back home. Instead of focusing on certain things where they can actually grow individually and grow intellectually, there are also cases, there are also people who are, mentally getting very disturbed staying back at home, because it's not that easy. We've never stayed back home. 3 months is a very huge time. And, I mean, we are still at home and we are still trying to break through. We are still trying to venture out. We are still trying to, go out and do something new. So I think there is a lot of concern with regards to this. So I feel that the first thing you need to focus upon is your mindfulness, which is very, very important for one person to go ahead and concentrate. And, mindfulness is one thing, meditation is the other thing. Easier said than done, I know that. But then I very strongly feel that, I should actually say this. I'll tell a small story which I relate to very much. It is also about my personal life, just not about the story. A story of an eagle. Now, I very recently came across this story, and I just had fallen in love with this story. Eagle, when it turns 30 years old, eagle's life is around 70 years, okay? And when it turns 30 years old, eagle's beak actually, curves, it bends down. It cannot actually go and attack a prey. So it starts falling sick, it starts feeling weaker, it starts actually to give up, it starts becoming very weak and just falling away and not that energetic, and it's not able to eat its prey. So it's like really, really giving up. But then it has two choices. Now this is for everybody who's, watching here. It's left with only two choices. Either he has to go through a very, very big trauma, that is a trauma of pain, to come back to his life, or to give up and die. Now the choice is in your hands, whether you want to give up or die, or you want to go through a trauma, or want to go through a painful procedure, to painful procedure to probably live your life better. So what it does is, the first thing it does is it tries to break its beak. A very painful procedure. Imagine a simple nail is actually cut through, and it's so painful, right? I mean, we can't take that pain for like few hours or few days at times, but then it's going through that pain through and through until the beak grows back. And then it slowly starts plucking its feathers out, plucking each and every feather out so that it gets a new life. And after a few days, the beak starts growing back. The feather starts coming back. And imagine it starts living its new life. And it can, after that, live up to another 40 years. So what a way of living life. Every individual here is going through some or the other, concern in life, some or the other pain in life. And I know there are a lot of, concerns right now in this pandemic. The payments are actually having issues. People having issues with the financials, credentials, and so many other things. But I think we as humans have this capacity of not giving up and coming back to life, rejuvenating ourselves in life. So I'm sure that we will get into mindfulness and we will start meditating and living a better life. The first course of life. The second is that you learn hard skills. You develop yourself, grow yourself. How do you develop yourself? There are online courses like, right now we have AI going on, we have cloud computing going on, we have so many other courses which are on technically sound. So I think we can talk about the technicality of it. You can actually grow in these courses, and you can learn about the programming part of it. You can learn something new. You can learn something where you can probably technically also be a very sound person. Like, we were really having trouble getting online, zooming into people and becoming zoomers, and, doing something different. All this while we were, as my colleague said, that we are people's person. So it was very difficult to understand the technology. But then now we've become technology savvy. This is a new learning for us. This is an experience again. And it's a beautiful experience. And then the third one, I spoke about the first, I spoke about the second. Now I'm speaking about the third one. The third one is all about soft skills. All about soft skills. Learn, etiquette, learn grooming yourself, learn new language. There are so many languages which are in the market coming up. Like you have Spanish, you have French. There are people who also love to learn Urdu or Sanskrit. Apart from foreign languages, you learning your own language, I mean, culture, learning your own culture, you can actually do that. Communication skills have been a barrier to a lot of us. So I think you can also learn communication. So these are the three major areas I would like to cover, in this particular topic. And I think there is so much of learning that you can still continue and keep learning in life. Life is all about learning. Life is all about growing. Life is all about giving. start giving, start loving each other, start respecting each other, have that humility in you, because it's very important. And serve. The last part I would like to talk about is serve as much as you can, because it gives you a lot of confidence, it gives you self-worth, it gives you a kind of belonging, that you belong to this earth and this mother earth, and you can do so much for the people around you. So upskilling and upgrading has actually become a new survival era, post pandemic, and this is something which we can actually learn and we can live by. And I end my topic here with the questions welcomed by the participants. Thank you so much.
That was really amazing about you mentioned about life is all about learning. Yes, it's actually, I would like to agree with that, like 101% sure, saying that we learn something new every day. We learn something new each and every day in our life. And the story which you mentioned about that eagle saying that it breaks its leaf. We're all trying to earn a living. We're not trying, we have to adapt ourselves for something which is going to come first rather than getting escape from the moment. I really love those words which you said.
Absolutely.
And how do you address a youth or another normal human being saying that to focus on his goals or aim? Being a soft skill development expert, how do you address him? Uh, how do you like say him to do all this stuff in a good way, say that he will reach out people in a better world?
The first thing I very strongly believe in case you have to have an aim or goal setting, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand what is your goal. You need to understand what is it, list it out. How do you probably focus on your goal or your aim? The first thing you do is you need to write down few things on a list, that I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to become this, I want to become this. And then pick on that one thing where you feel that you can work for free your entire life. That is your goal, that is your aim, that is your dream. And if you are probably on that line, then you need to have a plan of action every single day you wake up. You wake up in the morning and you write down your chores, your daily chores. What is that you're going to do? And then start ticking on it and see how much you're able to achieve. I know it is very difficult, I mean, it's not that easy to just get up one day and feel, okay, fine, I have this goal and I've got to focus on this goal and my aim is this, because it can keep changing. When I was growing, I mean, as a kid, I always wanted to marry. I never wanted to do anything else. Yeah, because I thought, in marriage, you would get so many gifts like you get on birthdays, and that was only focus. And when I started growing, there were so many other things I was looking out for. So it is very, very, important for a person to understand that the goal setting is a little not that easy, but then yes, as I told about the eagle story, by slow and steady, you can definitely focus on your goal and you can achieve your dreams. Write down your chores every single day. Write down what is that you want to do right in the morning, and then before hitting the bed, just take down whatever your chores were and how much you could complete. And one at a time, one at a time. Don't jump to, too many things at a time. So one thing at a time.
Yes, yes, that's absolutely, ma'am. I would really agree with what you have said. We need to have goals and waking up on. And I do have another question waiting for you. How does the skill development program solve real world problems?
The most important part of your life. But now I realize that the most things I got experienced out of my life was over the cup of coffee with my colleagues or with my friends. So it's all about communicating. It's all about how do you speak. It's all about learning something which is like available in and across us. It's not important that you log in and you have to go online, learn some courses, only then you learn. It's about your will to do certain things in life and your will to learn, to communicate, to relate to one another.
Yes, yes, that's actually true. That's actually true. I would like to correct it. And I do have another question. It takes 21 days to leave out an habit. It takes 21 days to learn a new skill. Is that a myth or is that practically been proven? How is that? I want an explanation from your side.
It's absolutely a myth. It doesn't take 21 days to probably get into any habit. I have to tell you this, you need to have determination to get into a habit. It can just be a day. I'll tell you what I have seen. I have counseled a lot of people who also drink, who also smoke. And, in that particular course, I had always encountered people or seen people who had just quit drinking in a day. And it did not take years together. It just took that one will to, quit that particular habit. And 21 days is not, it's just, so that you get into a routine. You just, as a mental health advisor, anything that you get into a habit or a routine actually becomes a part of your life. And that's the reason people ask you to do it for 21 days. But it is actually more than 60 days is what you have to do it. It minimum takes 3 months to get into a habit.
Yes, ma'am. I actually had this doubt from my personally. I really got it cleared right today. And you do have a
Okay.
question in chat box. Uh, you do have a
Uh-huh.
question. You do have a question from Ravi Sinha.
Let
Today we
me
should
just
see the role of
okay.
counseling entrepreneurs, which is recovering from pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
restarting.
uh, is this Ravi Hisana? Thank you for highlighting the belongings important post COVID on mental health advisory. Okay, I did not get the question. Can you please repeat it?
Uh, he's mentioning about the role of
Uh-huh.
counseling enterprises, which is recovering from pandemic and restarting.
Very important because what is happening is people have developed this particular concern with regards to what is going to happen across us, whether the businesses are going to really work or are they going to get stuck somewhere. I think counseling would help them understand that this is just a time and this shall too pass away.
That was a mesmerizing answer, and we learned a lot of new things from this session. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on Planet Tech Media House. It was so glad that you being on Planet Tech Media House. Thank you for ma'am.
I am honored to be a part of this particular show. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.